My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I stood in my kitchen, staring at what should have been a simple birthday gift, but my whole body was telling me to run. The silver wrapping paper with its cheerful red bow looked innocent enough sitting on my counter, but something was terribly wrong. "Mom, please don't touch it," Angel whispered behind me, her voice filled with fear I'd never heard before. My 13-year-old daughter was pressed against the kitchen wall, as far away from the gift box as she could get while still being in the same room with me. I wanted to tell her she was being silly. I wanted to laugh and say it was just a present from Grandma Linda, but I couldn't. Because now that I was really looking at the box, really paying attention, I could see what Angel had seen. What I had missed completely when the delivery man handed it to me this morning. The box was moving. Not a lot. Just tiny, almost invisible movements that made my stomach drop to the floor. And there were holes. Small, carefully made holes along the sides that I hadn't noticed before. Holes that looked like they were made on purpose. Holes that something inside needed to breathe. "Angel," I said, trying to keep my voice calm even though my heart was beating so fast I thought it might explode. "How long have you known something was wrong with this box?" "Since you put it on the counter this morning," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I saw something move inside it when you weren't looking. Something dark, and I heard scratching." Scratching. Now that she said it, I could hear it too. Very faint, but definitely there. Like tiny claws or scales against cardboard. I took a step back from the counter, my mind racing. Linda had sent this box for my birthday. My mother-in-law, who had been acting strange lately, who had been asking weird questions about my schedule, who had looked at me with such anger during our last family dinner when Mike took my side in an argument. "What are you going to do, Mom?" Angel asked, and I could hear the trust in her voice. She believed I would know what to do. She believed I would keep us safe. But I had no idea what to do. What do you do when you realize the birthday gift sitting in your kitchen might be dangerous? When your own family might have sent you something that could hurt you? The scratching sound got a little louder, and I saw the box shift slightly on the counter. Whatever was inside was getting more active. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers. Angel was right. Every instinct I had was screaming at me not to open that box, not to touch it, not to go anywhere near it. "I'm calling 911, I said, and Angel's face showed relief for the first time all day. As I dialed, I couldn't stop staring at the box. This morning, I had been so happy. It was my birthday. I had a loving husband, a wonderful daughter, and what I thought was a thoughtful gift from my mother-in-law. Everything seemed perfect. Now I was calling the police because I was afraid to open a present. The phone rang once, twice. 911, what's your emergency?" I opened my mouth to speak. But how do you explain this? How do you tell someone that you think your mother-in-law might have sent you something dangerous for your birthday? How do you say that without sounding crazy? "Hello? Are you there?" "Yes," I finally managed to say. "I need help. I think someone sent me something dangerous in a gift box. There's something alive inside it, and I'm afraid to open it." Angel moved closer to me, and I put my arm around her. Whatever happened next, at least I had listened to her. At least I hadn't opened that box. But as I waited for the dispatcher to respond, one question kept running through my mind. What exactly had Linda sent me, and why? What do you think is inside the box? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. 6 hours earlier, my day had started like a dream. I woke up to the smell of coffee and pancakes drifting up from the kitchen. Mike had already left for his construction job, but he'd left little notes all around our bedroom. One on my mirror said, "Happy birthday to the most beautiful woman in the world." Another on my nightstand read, "34 looks amazing on you." I smiled as I collected each note, feeling loved and special. When I walked downstairs in my pajamas, Angel was standing at the stove, carefully flipping pancakes. She had flour in her dark hair and syrup on her cheek, but she looked so proud of herself. "Happy birthday, Mom," she said, beaming at me. "I made your favorite breakfast." The pancakes were a little burnt around the edges, and she'd used way too much vanilla in the batter, but they were perfect because she'd made them with love. We sat at our kitchen table, the same one where we'd eaten thousands of meals together, and she handed me a card she'd made herself. The front had a drawing of our family, stick figures holding hands in front of our house. Inside, she'd written in her careful handwriting, "To the best mom in the world. Thank you for always keeping me safe and for believing in me. I love you more than all the stars in the sky." I felt tears in my eyes as I hugged her tight. "I love you too, Angel, more than you'll ever know." We spent the morning together, just the two of us. Angel helped me water the plants in our garden while I told her stories about when I was her age. She laughed at my jokes and asked questions about everything. These were the moments I treasured most. Just normal, quiet time with my daughter. At exactly 10 o'clock, our doorbell rang. Angel and I looked at each other, wondering who it could be. When I opened the door, a delivery man stood there holding a large box wrapped in beautiful silver paper with an elegant red bow. "Delivery for Sandra Martinez," he said with a smile. "That's me," I said, signing for the package. The box was heavier than I expected, and I had to use both hands to carry it inside. Angel followed me to the kitchen as I set it on the counter. There was a small card attached to the ribbon, and when I opened it, I recognized Linda's neat handwriting immediately. "Happy birthday, Sandra. I hope you enjoy this special gift. It's something I picked out just for you. Love, Linda." I felt a warm feeling in my chest. Linda and I hadn't always gotten along perfectly, especially since she'd moved closer to us after her husband died last year. Sometimes she made comments that hurt my feelings, and she had a way of making me feel like I wasn't good enough for her son. But this gift showed that maybe she was trying to build a better relationship with me. "What do you think it is?" Angel asked, walking around the box to examine it from all sides. "I have no idea," I said, shaking it gently. Something shifted inside, but I couldn't tell what it was. "It's pretty heavy. Maybe it's a vase or some kind of decoration." Angel seemed excited about the mystery gift. "Can we open it now?" I looked at the clock. Mike wouldn't be home until 4, and I knew he'd want to be here when I opened presents. "Let's wait for Dad to get home. He'll be disappointed if he misses it." Angel nodded, understanding. We decided to leave the box on the counter where we could admire the pretty wrapping while we waited. The rest of the morning passed peacefully. I called my sister to thank her for the birthday card she'd sent, and my friend Jessica called to wish me happy birthday. Angel and I made lunch together, grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup, another one of our traditions. Everything felt normal and happy. I had no idea that in just a few hours, that innocent-looking box would turn my perfect birthday into the most terrifying day of my life. If someone had told me that morning that I'd be calling 911 because of Linda's gift, I would have laughed. But sometimes the most dangerous things come wrapped in the prettiest packages. After lunch, I noticed Angel started acting differently around the gift box. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but as the afternoon went on, her behavior became impossible to ignore. Every time I walked near the kitchen counter where the box sat, Angel would suddenly appear beside me with some excuse to pull me away. When I went to wipe down the counter after our meal, she quickly said, "Mom, can you help me with my math homework?" When I reached for my coffee mug that I'd left near the box, she jumped up and said, "I'll get it for you." The third time it happened, I started paying closer attention. I was putting away the clean dishes when Angel practically ran into the kitchen. "Mom, didn't you say you wanted to organize your closet today?" she asked, grabbing my arm gently but firmly. "Angel, what's going on?" I asked, looking at her carefully. "You're acting strange." She glanced at the gift box, then quickly looked away. "Nothing's wrong. I just thought we could spend time together before Dad gets home." But something was definitely wrong. Angel was usually excited about presents and surprises. When her birthday came around, she could barely contain herself waiting to open gifts. Yet here she was, seemingly trying to keep me away from mine. Around 2 o'clock, my friend Jessica called again to ask about my birthday gifts. "So what did you get?" she asked cheerfully. "Anything exciting?" I started to tell her about Linda's gift, but Angel, who had been reading on the couch, suddenly stood up and walked over to me. "Mom, can I talk to you about something important?" she interrupted, which was very unlike her. Angel was usually polite and never interrupted my phone calls. "Jessica, can I call you back later?" I said, confused by Angel's behavior. After I hung up, Angel sat down next to me on the couch, but she kept glancing toward the kitchen with a worried expression. "What did you want to talk about?" I asked. She seemed to struggle for words. "Just school stuff. Never mind, it's not that important." During our afternoon snack, I watched Angel more carefully. She kept looking at the gift box, but not with excitement or curiosity. She looked nervous, almost scared. When I followed her gaze to the counter, I tried to see what she was seeing, but the box looked the same to me as it had all morning. "Angel," I said gently, "is something bothering you about Grandma Linda's gift?" She bit her lip, the way she always did when she was trying to decide whether to tell me something. I have a bad feeling about it." "A bad feeling? What kind of bad feeling?" "I don't know how to explain it," she said, fidgeting with her napkin. "It just doesn't feel right. Can we maybe not open it today?" This was definitely not normal behavior for Angel. She was usually logical and could explain her feelings clearly. For her to have such a strong reaction to a simple gift box was concerning. I started thinking about Linda and our recent interactions. Over the past few months, especially since she'd moved to our town, things between us had become tense. She'd been asking strange questions about my work schedule at the hospital, wanting to know exactly which days I worked and what time I got home. When I asked why she needed to know, she'd say she was just trying to plan family visits. Last month, during a family dinner, Linda had made a comment that really bothered me. She'd said, "Mike was such a happy boy before he got married. He used to call me every day." When Mike defended me and said he was happier now than he'd ever been, Linda's face had changed completely. The look she gave me was cold and angry, like she blamed me for taking her son away from her. Then there was the argument 2 weeks ago about Angel's birthday party. Linda had wanted to plan the whole thing herself, but Mike and I had already made plans. When we politely declined her offer, she'd accused me of trying to cut her out of Angel's life. The conversation had ended with Linda storming out of our house, saying things that still made me uncomfortable to think about. As I sat there watching Angel's worried face, I started to wonder if maybe her instincts were picking up on something I was missing. Angel had always been good at reading people and situations. Maybe there was more to this gift than I realized. At exactly 4 o'clock, I heard Mike's truck pull into our driveway. Angel and I were in the living room, but I noticed she didn't jump up with excitement like she usually did when her dad came home. Instead, she stayed curled up on the couch, still glancing nervously toward the kitchen. "Birthday girl," Mike called out as he walked through the front door, his work boots heavy on our hardwood floor. He was covered in dust from the construction site, but his smile was bright and loving. "Ready to see what surprises the day has brought?" I kissed him hello, tasting the salt from his hard day's work. "Linda sent a gift," I said. "It's in the kitchen." "That was nice of her," Mike said, though I caught a slight hesitation in his voice. Things had been strained between him and his mother lately, too, especially after she'd criticized me in front of him one too many times. We all walked into the kitchen together, and Mike whistled appreciatively when he saw the elegant silver box with its perfect red bow. "Wow, Mom really went all out," he said. "This looks expensive." Angel hung back near the kitchen doorway while Mike and I approached the counter. I felt excited again, caught up in Mike's enthusiasm. Maybe Angel's worries were just teenage moodiness. Maybe I was overthinking Linda's recent behavior. "Okay, let's see what she got you," Mike said, rubbing his hands together. I reached for the ribbon, ready to untie the bow, when Angel's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Mom, don't open it." Mike and I both turned to look at her. She was pressed against the doorframe, her face pale and her eyes wide with fear. "Angel, what's wrong?" Mike asked, concerned. "Don't open it," she repeated, her voice stronger now. "Please, Mom, don't open it." "Why not?" I asked, my hand still hovering over the ribbon. "Can't you see it?" Angel said, pointing at the box. I looked at the box more carefully, trying to see whatever Angel was seeing. At first, everything looked normal. Beautiful silver paper, elegant red bow, Linda's card still attached. "See what, honey?" Mike asked gently. "Look closer," Angel whispered. I leaned in, examining every inch of the wrapping paper. That's when I saw them. Tiny holes, barely visible, poked along the sides of the box. They were so small I had to squint to make sure I wasn't imagining them. But they were definitely there. Deliberate holes, like someone had used a needle or a small nail to puncture the cardboard underneath the wrapping paper. "Mike," I said quietly, "look at this." He leaned in next to me and I pointed to the holes. His eyebrows furrowed as he studied them. "Those are weird," he said. "Why would there be holes in a gift box?" That's when I noticed something else, something that made my blood turn cold. The box was moving. Not obviously. Not in a way you'd notice unless you were really watching. But there was definitely movement. A slight shifting, like something inside was alive and trying to get comfortable. "Oh my God," I breathed, taking a step back from the counter. Angel moved closer to us now, vindicated that we were finally seeing what she'd been seeing all day. "I saw something dark moving inside," she whispered, through one of the holes, and I heard scratching sounds. Now that she mentioned it, I could hear it too. Very faint scratching, like tiny claws against cardboard. The sound made my skin crawl. Mike was still staring at the box, trying to process what we were seeing. Maybe it's some kind of mechanical gift, like a toy or something." But even as he said it, I could tell he didn't believe it. The movement was too organic, too random. Whatever was inside that box was alive. I thought about Linda's card. "I hope you enjoy this special gift. It's something I picked out just for you." The words took on a completely different meaning now. "We're not opening this," I said firmly, backing away from the counter. "Sandra, maybe we're overreacting," Mike started to say. "No," I said, my voice shaking. "Angel's been trying to warn me all day. Something is very wrong here." The scratching sound got louder, and I saw the box shift again. I was reaching for my phone before I even realized what I was doing. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands, but Mike grabbed my wrist gently before I could dial. "Sandra, wait," he said, his voice trying to stay calm. "Let's think about this for a minute. Maybe there's a logical explanation." "A logical explanation for what?" I asked, my voice rising. "For your mother sending me a box with holes in it that's moving and making scratching sounds?" Angel stepped closer to us, her young face serious beyond her years. "Dad, I've been watching this box all day. Something dangerous is inside it. I can feel it." Mike looked between Angel and me, then back at the box. I could see him struggling between his natural tendency to trust people and the evidence right in front of his eyes. The box shifted again, more noticeably this time, and we all heard the scratching sound clearly. "Okay," Mike said slowly. "That's definitely not normal." I started thinking about Linda's behavior over the past few months, and suddenly everything began to make horrible sense. The strange questions about my work schedule weren't innocent curiosity. She'd been asking specifically about when I'd be home alone, when Angel would be at school, when Mike would be at work. "Mike," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "remember last month when your mom asked me about allergies? She wanted to know if any of us were allergic to anything specific." His face went pale. "I remember. She said she was thinking about getting you something special for your birthday. And remember the argument we had 2 weeks ago?" I continued, the pieces falling into place in my mind. "When she accused me of stealing you away from her? The look on her face when you defended me?" Angel was listening to every word, her eyes wide. "What did she say exactly, Mom?" I closed my eyes, remembering Linda's angry words. "She said I had ruined her family, that I had taken her son away and turned him against her. She said I would regret the day I married into her family." Mike ran his hands through his hair, looking sick. I thought she was just upset. I thought she'd get over it. The scratching from inside the box became more urgent, and I noticed the silver wrapping paper starting to move slightly, as if whatever was inside was becoming more active. "There's something else," I said, my heart pounding. "Last week, when she came over for dinner, I found her in our bedroom. She said she was looking for the bathroom, but she was going through my jewelry box." "Why didn't you tell me?" Mike asked. "I thought maybe I was being paranoid, but now—" I looked at the box again, and a chill ran down my spine. What if she was looking for information about me, about my routines, my schedule, my habits? Angel suddenly grabbed my arm. "Mom, remember when Grandma Linda asked me about your favorite room in the house? She wanted to know where you spent the most time when you were home alone." "The kitchen. I spent most of my time in the kitchen when I was home alone, reading, paying bills, having my morning coffee, and that's exactly where I would have opened this box if Angel hadn't stopped me." "We need to call the police," I said firmly. "Right now." "Sandra, she's my mother," Mike said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Maybe we should call her first and ask her what's in the box." "No," Angel said with surprising force. "Dad, What if calling her gives her time to run away? What if she's done this to other people? The scratching sound got even louder, and now we could all see the box moving more obviously. Whatever was inside was getting agitated. I thought about Linda's questions about allergies, her interest in my schedule, her anger toward me, and her access to our house. I thought about how she'd been acting strange ever since her husband died, how she'd become obsessed with Mike and resentful of our marriage. "I'm calling 911, I said, starting to dial. "Whatever's in that box, Linda sent it to hurt me, I'm sure of it." Mike didn't try to stop me this time. He was staring at the box with growing horror, finally accepting what Angel and I already knew. Something very dangerous was inside that innocent-looking birthday gift, and his mother had sent it to me on purpose. The question was, what exactly was in there, and how much time did we have before it got out? 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher's calm voice came through my phone speaker. "My name is Sandra Martinez," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Someone sent me a package that I believe contains something dangerous. There's something alive inside it, and I'm afraid to open it." "Can you describe what you're seeing, ma'am?" I looked at the box, which was now moving more noticeably. The box has small holes poked in the sides, and I can hear scratching sounds coming from inside. Whatever's in there is moving around. "Are you in immediate danger right now?" "I don't think so, as long as we don't open the box. But I'm scared of what might happen if we do." Mike was pacing behind me, running his hands through his hair. I could see the internal battle on his face. Part of him still couldn't believe his mother would do something like this, but the evidence was right in front of us. "Ma'am, I'm sending police and animal control to your location immediately," the dispatcher said. "Can you and your family move to a safe area away from the package?" "Yes, we can go to our backyard." "Please do that now and stay on the line with me." Angel was already heading toward the back door, clearly relieved that adults were finally taking this seriously. Mike grabbed my hand as we followed her outside, but I could see the embarrassment and confusion on his face. "Sandra, what if we're wrong?" he whispered as we stepped onto our back patio. "What if it's just some kind of weird gift and we're calling the police on my mother for nothing?" "Then we'll apologize," I said firmly. "But Mike, look at the facts. The holes, the movement, the scratching sounds, her recent behavior toward me. This isn't normal." Angel sat down on our patio chair, finally looking relaxed for the first time all day. "Dad, I've had a bad feeling about that box since this morning. Mom taught me to trust my instincts, and my instincts are screaming that something's wrong." The dispatcher kept us on the line, asking questions about Linda and our relationship with her. I explained about the recent arguments, her strange questions about my schedule, and her increasing hostility toward me since her husband's death. Within 15 minutes, we heard sirens approaching our house. 2 police cars and an animal control van pulled up in front of our home. I felt a mixture of relief and terror. Relief that help was here, but terror about what they might find. A tall police officer with kind eyes approached us in the backyard. "Mrs. Martinez, I'm Detective Rodriguez. Can you tell me exactly what's been happening?" I explained everything from the beginning. The gift delivery, Angel's strange behavior, the holes in the box, the movement and scratching sounds. Detective Rodriguez listened carefully, taking notes and asking detailed questions about Linda. "Has your mother-in-law ever threatened you directly?" he asked Mike. Mike looked uncomfortable. "Not exactly threatened, but she's made some concerning comments. She's been angry about our marriage and has accused Sandra of taking me away from her." Meanwhile, the animal control officers were suiting up in protective gear. They had thick gloves, face shields, and what looked like specialized equipment for handling dangerous animals. "What do you think is in there?" I asked one of the officers. "Could be anything, ma'am," he replied. "We've seen cases where people send venomous snakes, poisonous spiders, even aggressive rodents. We're prepared for various possibilities." Detective Rodriguez continued questioning us while the animal control team entered our house. "When was the last time you spoke with Linda Hartwell?" 3 days ago, Mike answered. "She called to ask what time Sandra would be home from work today." My blood ran cold. "She specifically asked about today?" "Yeah, she said she wanted to make sure you'd be home to receive your birthday surprise." Detective Rodriguez and I exchanged a look. This was clearly planned. Linda had timed the delivery for when she knew I'd be home, probably expecting me to open it immediately. Through our kitchen window, we could see the animal control officers approaching the box with extreme caution. They had some kind of containment unit ready. "Whatever happens next," Detective Rodriguez said, "you made the right call not opening that package." As we watched the officers prepare to reveal what Linda had sent me, I held Angel close and prayed that my daughter's instincts had saved our lives. Through our kitchen window, we watched as the animal control officers carefully positioned their equipment around the gift box. One officer had a long pole with a hook on the end, while another held what looked like a thick glass container with a secure lid. "Everyone stay back," Detective Rodriguez instructed us, though we were already a safe distance away on the patio. The lead animal control officer used his pole to carefully lift one corner of the silver wrapping paper. Even from outside, we could hear him say, "Oh my God," into his radio. "What is it?" Detective Rodriguez called through the open back door. "We've got multiple venomous snakes in here," the officer replied, his voice tense. "Looks like copperheads, at least 6 of them." I felt my knees go weak. Mike caught my arm to steady me, his face completely white. Angel pressed closer to my side, and I could feel her trembling. "Copperheads," I whispered. "Those could have killed me." Detective Rodriguez was already on his radio, calling for backup and requesting an immediate warrant for Linda's arrest. "We need units at 847 Maple Street, apartment 3B. Suspect is Linda Hartwell, 58-year-old white female. She's wanted for attempted murder." The animal control team worked methodically to safely remove each snake from the box. They were beautiful creatures with their distinctive hourglass patterns, but deadly. If I had opened that box normally, reaching inside like I would with any other gift, I would have been bitten multiple times. "Mom," Angel said quietly, "what would have happened if I hadn't stopped you?" I hugged her tighter. "You saved my life, sweetheart. Your instincts saved my life." Mike was staring at our kitchen window, watching the officers work. "I can't believe my own mother tried to kill my wife," he said, his voice broken. "How did I not see this coming?" Detective Rodriguez overheard him. "Sir, people with severe mental health issues can be very good at hiding their intentions. Your mother has been planning this for weeks, maybe months." 20 minutes later, Detective Rodriguez received a call on his radio. "We've got her," the voice crackled through. "Linda Hartwell is in custody." He turned to us with a grim expression. "They found her at her apartment packing a suitcase. She was planning to leave town. When they searched her place, they found research printed out about copperhead venom, your work schedule written on a calendar, and photos of your house that she'd taken from different angles." I felt sick to my stomach. "She was watching our house?" "It appears so. She also had a notebook with detailed plans about the timing of the delivery and notes about when your family would be home. She knew exactly when you'd be most likely to open the package alone." The animal control officers finished their work and came outside to brief us. "All 6 snakes have been safely removed and will be relocated to a wildlife preserve," the lead officer said. "These were definitely copperheads and they were agitated from being confined. If you had opened that box, the results would have been fatal." Detective Rodriguez explained what would happen next. "Linda Hartwell is being charged with attempted murder in the 1st degree. The evidence against her is overwhelming. You'll need to come to the station tomorrow to give formal statements, but for now you're safe." As the emergency vehicles pulled away from our house, the 3 of us sat on our back patio in stunned silence. My birthday had turned into the most terrifying day of our lives, but we were alive because Angel had trusted her instincts, and I had listened to her. "I'm so sorry," Mike said, tears in his eyes. "I should have seen the signs. I should have protected you better." "This isn't your fault," I told him firmly. "Your mother was sick, and she hid it well." Angel looked up at me with wise eyes that seemed older than her 13 years. "Mom, you always taught me to trust my gut feelings. Today proved why that's so important." Over the following weeks, we learned more about Linda's mental state. After her husband's death, she had developed an obsessive hatred toward me, blaming me for her loneliness and her strained relationship with Mike. She had spent months planning the perfect way to hurt me while making it look like an accident. Linda was sentenced to 15 years in prison. We got a restraining order and moved to a new house across town. But most importantly, our family grew closer through this traumatic experience. I learned to trust Angel's intuition completely, and she learned that speaking up about her concerns could literally save lives. Sometimes the most dangerous threats come wrapped in pretty packages, but love and trust can overcome even the darkest intentions.